from kind of briefly going over the Mormons thing. I know a little bit about it, but they're kind of the priestly class. That's what Joseph Smith was kind of, when he found his golden tablets in the ground. This was the idea that the priestly class was gone and he needed to restart it again. And if that being the case, then Joseph Smith is portraying himself to be a descendant of Aaron. So there's some issues there, to say the least, because Jesus replaced the priesthood class. He calls us the priestly class in my own special priesthood. But come about the 1800s, that's what happened, is that this guy, like you said, he had been going to church. Joseph Smith was at church regularly, but then something happened along the way somewhere, and he got deceived into this idea that there was some sort of a new revelation coming along, that Jesus was going to visit North America and bring his gospel to here. Now, could I say that wouldn't happen? Of course not. I think Jesus can go anywhere he wants to bring his gospel. But the idea that the Americas was a place where the gospel wasn't at, you got a problem right off the bat. Because the people that came here so that they could worship God in the way they wanted to worship him. That's why they came here. And
to evangelize.
So you're running into some problems here just on the face of it. But as we've talked about already, the Mormons have some theological problems that exist.
Well, and there's a context for it too, because probably most of us were born at or after the state of Israel came into existence. We understand that this nation that was not a nation, didn't have a language, didn't have a country, now does. But when you're in the 1870s, you don't know this. There is no Jewish nation. It looks like, and this of course is what tripped up Martin Luther and some others about this replacement theology, that for somehow, the Jews were completely out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that is the sort of historical context which would open the door to someone like Joseph Smith to claim that, well, this priestly thing needs to be restarted or something. And of course, this is ignoring Hebrews, and it's back to what I'd said earlier. You've got to ignore Scripture to buy this stuff.
Yeah, you really do, and that's the part of it. And that same type of thing was happening in the middle 1500s as well with the Catholic Church. They were on replacement theology too, because, well, Israel's not around anymore. The Jews are scattered everywhere, and they don't believe in Messiah. So the church has taken over the spot where the Jews used to be. And as again, we're neglecting what's in the Bible here, that the Jews are going to have a time when they're going to come back to faith again. And again, he didn't know what was going to go on. He was in the 1800s. Like Jay just said, Israel had not become a state again. It was a marshland that, said something about the Israel being a marshland that was nothing but wasteland? One of the Clement, I think. Yeah, I can't think of his name, the author's name. But at that point, the door was open for Joseph Smith to figure, okay, well, maybe the Mormons are going to be what the Jews weren't anymore. And possibly that's where his mind was going, I don't know. But the fact that the priestly class is the one who can actually determine what the Bible really says again. The Mormons...
Well, and can I add to something here?
Yeah.
Because, the gates of hell will not prevail against my church. So that's another scripture that is not known by most Mormons. They're not thinking about that. So the premise that the church had fallen away, that there was no real true church, goes against Scripture.
Yeah.
The clear prophecy is that there will always be an ecclesia. There will always be a church.
Right, it's going to be here because it's founded on truth. And as people look for truth, they're going to see truth. And as people have events come up in their life where they can't figure it out, they can go to the Bible and they can see that that Jesus promises, his promises to us are concrete.